Hey, deserving listeners, Love is Blind. Let's watch. Interesting. So she wasn't clear with him, but there were a lot of indicators to him that she was about to break up with him or was wanting to break up with Brendan, but didn't have the courage or the nerve or something. And so he's taking himself out of the equation, which I think is big of him. The things she was saying, it wasn't horrible. She's crying, she's upset, she's sad, I assume, and that's good that she doesn't want to hurt him. But she seemed to be like attacking him or criticizing him right off the bat. We know that she loves Nick. And I didn't show this, but in their conversation, he's saying, you know, last night you were saying that we were all in and we were just about to say love and that sort of stuff. And now all of a sudden things are different. So that's the way it looked to me. It looked to me like Annie had Brendan number one. She said as much. I was just wondering about the timeline. And so she was agreeing with that. And so we're led to believe that with Annie, when she met up with Nick, had a date with Nick, and Nick, in his way, just said that he loved her now after breaking up with Kate, then in that moment, I guess what we're learning is that Annie turned on a dime and went from Brendan to Nick.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think what she was kind of criticizing him for, she was kind of criticizing him for not putting more effort into it, but she wasn't either. And she's like, yeah, we don't really have deep conversations and stuff. And I think maybe she's just thinking out loud. But if you go into these dates and you're going to break up with someone, I wouldn't start off with those kind of statements. It's normal. People do that in breakups. It's also possible that she wasn't really sure if she was going to break up and she just was in denial of it. And then for him to step into that space, she's like, oh, yeah, okay, that's probably for the best. I don't know. In terms of breakups, this isn't the worst one we've seen.
This is not the kind of person that I ever would have thought I'd chose. That's wild.
Things have a funny way of working out how they're supposed to.
Dangerous game we play.
My life's gonna be a lot more boring when you guys aren't around saying stupid shit. We're easy to find, dude.
Okay. It's edited. We don't know. But to give you context, Brendan is sad that he just got dumped by the person that supposedly he wanted to spend the rest of his life with. I say supposedly, which I shouldn't say. That's what he's saying. They have a policy apparently in the men's lounge that they're not talking about who they're connected with. But as the cast members get whittled down, then you start to wonder, well, there's only so many options if my person is with someone else. There's only like a few guys here that it could be. And it is the guy that just said, Nick says, well, first off, he says, well, with my connection, because Brendan just informed Nick that he got dumped, right, for someone else. And Nick should know, well, it's a possibility it was me. And he just proceeds forward as if that's not the case. And maybe he's just being awkward, he doesn't know. Anyway, but then he says, yeah, changing the subject to me, I don't know if I would really have gone with this person. She's not really the sort of person I would have chosen. So us hearing that, it's like, well, yeah, you liked Kate and definitely had Annie number two, even though you were telling her the kinds of things you would hear before proposing. But anyway, so there's that. And then they're just talking about things, and then who knows, it could be an edited insertion. There could be like silly things that would have said, but what we hear from Nick is, what am I going to do when I don't have you guys around anymore to say stupid shit all the time? And again, if you're Nick, you should wonder if Brendan just got dumped because you swooped in and took his woman. Not his woman, but, you know, his relationship has ended because you changed your mind from Kate. And you wouldn't say that. Even if you didn't think that you and Brendan were in a love triangle, he's grieving, and why would you? It's just such a weird thing to say, right?
You're supposed to.
Dangerous game we play.
My life's gonna be a lot more boring when you guys aren't around saying stupid shit. We're easy to find, dude.
And who knows, but there's some red flags there of some kind of empathy issue. Who knows? Who knows?
And that's the honest to God truth.
I was so torn. I was so torn.
I wasn't.
Why didn't you just tell me sooner?
Okay, so Brendan and Annie are having another date, I think at the behest of, or the request of Brendan, and he's, I think, trying to make his case. And I thought that Annie had broken up with him without really breaking up with him. I thought that he let her break up with him without making her break up with him, you know. I thought he was taking himself out of the equation. I don't know if I showed this clip, but he just told Annie that he knows that it is Nick, which is interesting because we didn't see that bit. Maybe he just put two and two together when they were in the lounge. And now Annie seems to be on the fence again, which doesn't give a lot of confidence in her love for Nick. And now she's saying, "Oh, you should have told me sooner." So is she going to be with Brendan? I don't really understand.
I needed you to tell me. I needed you to take me and show me, guide me, and give me the direction I needed to go.
Oh, okay. Well, it could be both, but I've been wondering the authenticity of Annie's love for anybody. It looks now that her heart's invested. There's been some signs that, by the way, Patrick and Casey got engaged, which isn't a surprise. But the way that they reacted to their mutual self-professed love seemed much more in line with other people. Now, who knows what will happen moving forward, but it just had that look of investment and passion and stakes that are involved that we don't see with Nick at all. We haven't seen with Annie. And anyway, so the thing that she's saying now is, I needed you to tell me what to do. I needed you to say, marry me, and then I would have done that because I need someone to guide me and give me direction. Okay, we don't have to be a genius in psychology to know that that's a red flag of something. Wouldn't be her fault, but when you're raised in a certain way, when you're treated in a sexist way, and in addition to that, women, when you're in a traditional community and culture, religion can sometimes be associated with that, not always, but when you are being told that you're lesser, that you don't matter as much, blah, 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 then you believe that you don't really call the shots and you don't have the ability, you're not competent, you don't have the right under God to make those kinds of choices. So I'm making a lot of guesses. At the very least, we know, or we don't know, but there's some signs here that generally speaking, when it comes to making decisions, big decisions particularly, that she doesn't trust herself. There's various reasons for this. One is that she doesn't know that she has agency. She's never been allowed to have that. The other possibility is she doesn't know what she wants. Could be both. That she needs other, you can have that happen with some kids as they're being raised, that the child knows that they have the power. They don't feel powerless. They know that they have agency, but they don't know where to point it because they don't know how they feel and they don't know what their needs are. Or someone knows what their needs are, kind of, but they deny them because they don't feel like they have the right, or both, right? That would be my top two hypotheses that could be in conjunction to explain what we're seeing here. Not only in the exact phrasing that she has, which is interesting, but also how flip-flop she has been. She was Brendan number one. I think because she was getting a vibe from Nick that he was into the other person, which he was. And then, and hearing this, it's like, well, the world is defining for me how this is supposed to go. There's one man who likes me the most, and I want to be with him. So there we go. I'm just a vessel for men's needs, and I don't have the right to make decisions on my own, or I'm not competent or something. And then when Nick, and she was set on that for maybe the entire time, that Brendan's my guy because he's the one who was speaking most assertively about me, giving me the most direction. Then Nick comes after learning that Kate wouldn't want to be religious, and suddenly Nick is completely different. I love you. You're the one. And then it's like, whoa, not only is that a different presentation from Nick, but he's being much more assertive about this. Okay, I'll do what he's saying because someone's giving me direction. Then she meets up with Brendan, and Brendan's sad, and she can't even really break up with Brendan, because that's what I thought was going to happen, because she doesn't know she has any power. And then when Brendan now comes in hot and assertive, it's like, I'm still here. And she's like, oh my God, what do I do now? I have two men that are telling me what to do. I don't know which one I should go with. That says nothing about Annie's morality. What it looks like is that we're seeing evidence of trauma, of being raised in a particular way. And, it could be in addition to traditional values being taught to her, we don't know. But even if you're raised in a progressive household, you can definitely have a personality leaning in this direction. So when I consider that, then there's not a lot of hope. If it's true, there's not a lot of hope for Annie either way, because if she goes with Brendan, if she goes with Nick, it doesn't really matter, because there's a good chance that neither are really what she wants, because she doesn't know what she wants, and or she doesn't know that she can even choose what she wants. So it's looking a little pessimistic regardless of what she does, really.
Babe, what color door do you want? What's our house look like?
Yeah, that was a whole other thing that Brendan was like, I thought we had already established that we were supposed to be together. And I'm like, you did? And he's like, yeah, we already talked about what color of front door we're going to have on our house. What? The materialism is for some of, not all, but some of the individuals, or the childishness, really. It's the way children talk about, like, okay, it'll be so great. We're going to have cookies every night. We're going to have a blue door, and we're going to have a giant house, and we're going to have all the cats that we want. I'm being a total jerk. No one does that because they want to. They do that because they're not ready, and there might have been a reason why they're not ready that has nothing to do with them. So it's not inspiring the kind of follower along-ship that we would have, as at least me as a citizen watching, of just like, yay. Yeah, more just like, no.
I know what you need. I know what you want. I know it.
Oh, this is bad.
Shades of Matthew, hints of Matthew. I know what you need. I know what you want. You want me. That's what's happening right now. Yeah. Who knows what he is meaning by that? Who knows how she's receiving it? But it wouldn't be what I would say.
This is bad. I hate this. I don't know what to do.
Yeah. So it can seem strange if you're not like this. And if you're involved with someone like this and you're not like this, it can be very frustrating, because we often assume that everyone has the same level of connection with their needs and emotions and wants, and are in connection with their own agency, connection with the feeling or the vibe or the mode. Maybe mode is the best word. The mode of evaluating a situation, because you're the only one who can make the choice. It took me a while to really figure this out with clients, because it's not something that they teach very much in graduate school, because it's just too specific, or I don't know. But I would learn that because I'm not like that, but there are people that are, because of the way they're raised. And it can seem like when they say something like that, in the position that she's in, when she says, I don't know what to do. Most people, myself included from the outside, would assume, okay, well, then in her mind, she is trying to figure that out, either now or later or something. But there are people, given the traumas, and there are some pretty big flags of this for her, that when she says that, that's the end of the processing for her. In fact, that's an invitation even for someone to just tell her what she should do. when she says, I don't know what to do, I'll just walk through this again. If I were in her shoes and I said that and I didn't know what to do, I'd be, I don't know what to do. I would immediately at that moment, and in the midst of that moment, be thinking, okay, I might even think meta about it. Like, how do I figure this out? What do I need more time? Do I need to talk to someone? Who do I like? How does each of them make me feel? We've seen people have those debates internally, right? But there's a chance that when she said that, it was like, period, end of paragraph, end of book, end of story. I don't know what to do. Because growing up, she was never allowed to figure out what she wanted or how to proceed forward. And when she would say that, someone would swoop in, regardless of whether or not she wanted that person to or not, and they would tell her, maybe forcibly, what to do.
Brendan, you made me feel amazing. There's nothing about you I would change. I want someone who's always gonna choose me.
You didn't ask me.
I didn't have to ask Nick to. He chose me.
Wow. Right? She was consistent that Brendan was her number one. And then he chose her, so that's it. And if I was a little birdie on Brendan's shoulder, I would say, it's not a good sign. What if she does choose you? What does that say? Is she really choosing you, or is she just choosing the person who's putting the most pressure or the most pressure in that moment? And then a year from now, when someone at work is putting pressure on her, what is she going to do? Now, I'm not accusing her of anything, but when someone doesn't know what they want, then there's no reason for anything that they do. They are just doing what is pissing people off the least, which I don't know if that's the model. I don't even know if people-pleasing or if, over-pleasing other people is really what's happening. But if it is, I also don't know if it's the flavor of just avoiding anger and abuse, right? It could just be that she just doesn't feel competent, which is dependent personality spectrum. But anyway, so you didn't even fight for me, she's about to say. Yeah. It was interesting because when she was breaking up with him in the previous date, it felt unfair that she was kind of criticizing him, but I think she was actually communicating this lack of agency bit.
You didn't even fight for me. Like, why now? We had time. We fucking had time.
Yeah, I've been wondering about Annie's authenticity or how much she's invested. And I think I might have, given what we're seeing, I think she's invested, but not in the way that we would hope that she would be. She's invested in finding someone that'll choose her, and she wants to be chosen. And we all want that. But that's all that she's looking for the most part. Their conversations that she had with Nick and with Brendan kind of reflected that in terms of the edit. It was extremely shallow throughout the 10 days. Not that she's shallow, but it wasn't the kinds of conversations that we'd see with Patrick and Casey and others anyway. And so now I'm not saying Patrick and Casey are authentic, but in terms of the look of it, right? It had the Love is Blind look to it. Anyway, so I think I was interpreting it as apathy or gamemanship or something to get to the next phase, but there's a chance that she was very, very invested in the way and in as much as it was possible for her. She was just being available for someone to pursue her and to be with her. I'm trying to remember, did she say anything? Let's see. She discovered her long-term boyfriend was cheating with 20 different women. Yeah. Oh, she's the one that said, like, for apologies, I need jewelry and cars. That's a paraphrase. So, yeah. Anyway.
Telling me that I'm making the wrong choice. Brendan, you never validated me. You never told me that you love me.
Because you told me that you were choosing somebody else.
I hadn't chosen yet. You were my number one too. Why didn't you convince me then?
I'm worried that people are going to hate her because they're going to think she's playing games, and she might be. She has that look to it, I guess, if you just know the topic sentence, but when you read more into the paragraph, it doesn't look that way to me. And it wouldn't look like this if that was the case. If it's just gamemanship, then she's got a guy that she can depend on to propose and get to the next phase. I'm worried that people are going to hate her for that. I don't know, but there's that. There's just so many indicators that she's never been allowed to know what she wants, know that she has agency, know that she has value, other than just being a vessel for men's needs or maybe it's not just men, maybe it's just other people or something. I don't know. And I will say that when I did my deep dive on the Duggars and I looked into evangelical, particular brands of evangelical Christian in the United States, and I've also looked into more extreme Mormon groups that will raise kids in this way because it's semi-culty, if not actual cult-like or actual cult, in that when you're raised in a cult, the system is such that it needs to eliminate everyone's agency because you need to control everyone. But if you're raised in it, then it's all that you know. And from the very early years of your life, when you're 2 years old and you have an impulse that would be normal, it is perceived sometimes through the lens by the parents, by the congregation as the devil in you, and it needs to be snuffed out. Whereas in a non-cult situation, there would be more flexibility for the kid to explore and get to know themselves, express themselves, have spontaneity, but you can't have that in a cult. And if you were not raised in a cult, but you joined the cult, then you have that indoctrination. But if you're raised in it, then you don't even have the foundation to evaluate whether or not you want to be in the cult or not. And that's the perfect cult member. And then you have kids and, you just move forward through the generations, which does happen in some of these cults. Some religious cults are like that. I'm saying a lot of shit I have no idea. All I know is that she's religious, which in all likelihood doesn't indicate that. But I will say that that's a possibility, and it's a real problem. And when I would first hear about people like the Duggars and these evangelical cults that are mainly in the central states of the United States, I thought, well, it's pretty isolated. Sure, you've got your Westboro and all that kind of stuff, but it's not the mainstream by any stretch. Well, looking into it, it's a lot more mainstream and a lot more common than I knew, because in my circle, it just doesn't exist. It's almost like the default in a lot of areas, a lot of communities. So it's not a stretch. And Colorado is, edging in that direction. It's Colorado's interesting. I'm not an expert, but it has a major city, Denver. But just my impression is just outside the city, you might as well be in the middle of, South Dakota. No shade on South Dakota, but, like very rural and a very different culture, I should say. And you're in that band of communities in the central United States where that kind of religious fervor and indoctrination is much more common. So, I'm just throwing it out there. We don't know anything about Annie, but I say all this because it's something I think we need to be aware of. All right, well, that does it for that episode. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.